Hi, everybody. My name is Nadine Heubel. I am currently the CEO of Heinemann Americas in my day job. And one of my passions actually is to be a mentor for Endeavor. So therefore, I'm super excited that I am able to moderate this session today. And I am even more excited that I have the possibility to have a chat and ask some questions to the wonderful Johanna Mikkola, which I would like to ask on stage now.
Hey,
Here she is. Welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. Maybe we want to kickstart with you introducing yourself.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. I'm passionate about being an Endeavor entrepreneur, so I'm happy to be because I love all the Endeavor mentors. It's played. I know we're going to talk about it, but played such a huge role in my professional life and actually personal as well, which is great. But yep, my name. Everyone calls me Joe. You guys can see from my little name handle there now, BrainStation. I'm currently the VP and GM of BrainStation, which Wyncode acquired, which I was the CEO and co-founder of. I know we're going to talk about all that too. I'm originally from Finland. I moved down to Miami in 2014 via Toronto to launch Wyncode Academy, and was selected as an Endeavor entrepreneur in 2015 at an ISP in Amman, Jordan, which was a fantastic experience.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that's so cool. We have to talk about this as well.
Yes. So happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Glad to have you, especially here during Women's History Month. It's amazing to talk to an amazing founder. And while I prepared myself for the presentation, I was looking through your bio, and actually I saw that you and me have quite a few things in common. We are both from Europe. And both at one point in our careers, we have been the highest ranking female in an organization. We are both also mentors. We are both also involved in different mentorship programs, I know. But then there is one big difference, and that's something I'm so admiring you for, is actually that you founded your own company. I never had the courage to do this.
No, so, you're amazing. No way.
That's why I'm so happy actually to be here and talk to you. But before we maybe talk about your journey as a founder, as an entrepreneur, do you want to share a little bit with us your pre-founder, pre-entrepreneur life?
Absolutely. So speaking of those pre-entrepreneur days, well, I've always had a little bit of the entrepreneurial bug. I did have a paper route when I was a kid. Although, to be fair, my mother ended up delivering a lot of those papers.
I did the same. So something else we have in common now. I did exactly the same.
And then eventually it ended because my parents were like, we don't want another job. This was your job. And then actually through university, I went to university in University of Toronto, and I had done cheerleading. I was on the national team for cheerleading in Finland. And that's not saying too much because the bar of cheerleading in Finland is a lot lower than it is in the US. So anyway, there I was, made it to the team, and they were sourcing uniforms from all over the world and paying like a crazy amount of money. And so when I went to Canada, that was in my high school days. When I went to Canada, I actually started a little side hustle while I was in university as an exporter of custom cheerleading uniforms from Canada to Finland. And I love doing that. I did that. My dad's an entrepreneur. My significant other was an entrepreneur. So, I was getting good mentorship there, but that's all to say, I grew up in an entrepreneurial household, and I saw the excitement, but I also felt the instability. It's a roller coaster. At times it was really good, and at other times it wasn't. My parents never let me know, but I knew that sometimes they were worried about bills and struggled to pay the bills. And that's because business wasn't always stable. And so when I went to university, I was like, I want a very structured, very reliable, very stable career because I don't want to worry about paying the bills, right? And so I went to university with the plan to go to law school and be a lawyer because, what good human does, like, that's a great career. You have a lot of earning potential.
Yes, it's stable,
high intellect, prestige. And, after university, what ended up happening is the National Hockey League in 2005 had just come out of a lockout, which meant that they had fired a lot of people and they were bringing in new people. And I say that because the NHL, like any sport, it's like the mob. Once you're in, you're never out. People like are in those jobs for like 30, 40 years. So there are rarely positions open. I got an opportunity to join, and I started as an assistant. And when I left 10 years later, I left as a senior manager, first female into management in the officiating hockey operations side. And it was a wonderful journey, but I got to a point, man, I went into that first NHL interview, and I literally told them in the interview that I'm probably going to be doing this for a year or so. Like who says that in an interview? So anyway, they still hired me. And there I was, like, my boss, who's still a really close mentor of mine, who's an executive at the NHL. Every year he's like, still here, Joe. So
I have a question before you continue, because I mean, NHL, now talking about women in leadership and women, NHL sounds also very male dominated. Maybe you can talk
entirely. Yeah. So I think it was, I was the only female on a team of 85 guys. Now, mind you, that was our department. There are a lot more people than 85 people who work at the NHL, but our department had 85 individuals. Mind you, a lot of that was also referees and linesmen, but still of the management team, there were maybe 25 people, and I was the only female. So, I'm an only child. We're crazy entrepreneurs. Like, in a way, I liked the challenge. It made me both excited and motivated to be the only female in the room, but it also made me sad and frustrated at times. Yeah. So it's this like weird in between that you live in. And then eventually what happened in that career is it was really great. But if I wanted to advance in sports entertainment, I either had to be a former player, which I wasn't, or I had to get an MBA. So I actually looked at getting an MBA. And it was a lot of money. And at the time, my partner, who's now my husband, he was going through a coding boot camp at the time. And we kind of loved the concept. We were both about to do an MBA potentially together as well. And we're like, you know what? Let's sell our place. Let's launch a startup together. Let's do this amazing, like, innovative education model in a market where it's never been done before. And if it's not profitable in 6 months, then we'll call it a day, and we'll go back and do the MBA and be in debt for many, many years. And, here we are. Didn't do the MBA. Maybe I'll do that later.
That's so amazing. But you had never been into coding before. This was really your husband who brought you in this field.
Yeah, absolutely. My only exposure had been at the NHL. We did a custom software build at the time on Ruby on Rails. And everyone kind of, there were like 15 managers, and no one wanted to project lead it because no one was technical. So everyone kind of looked at me and thought, because I'm the youngest and I liked my iPhone the most, that like I would be the technical lead, which I became the technical lead. And it was awesome. It like gave me an amazing opportunity. But for me, as he was going through it, to see hockey being disrupted by technology, which, I mean, hockey and technology, do those things go together? It was kind of my first introduction to like really understanding and living that everything is technology, every industry. And so, I really saw firsthand that this was having technology understanding and skills, regardless of if you become a software developer or a UX designer, for example. It was just so essential to get ahead already many years ago. Or at least it gave me a huge opportunity to advance professionally, because I wasn't afraid of technology and I did have a little bit of an understanding of how it was built. So that was pretty amazing. And I wanted to, help get those skills to other people as well.
Amazing. I think I would definitely be a candidate to get more exposure to this, because I'm so freaked out with technology that I had to dial in the live stream like 15 minutes before, because I was so worried that all my technology wouldn't.
It's all about comfort, practice. It's like anything, it's like any craft or anything. The more you do it, the more skilled you become at it, the more comfortable you become at it.
It's true. I also have an off-topic question for you. So while you were at the NHL, who was your favorite hockey player?
Oh, well, you know what? That's a great question, because everyone always asks me who was my favorite team. And we actually weren't allowed to have a favorite team working for the league. You had to be a neutral body. Yeah. But I'm from Finland, so of course I love my Finnish players. I always cheered for the Finnish players. Timo Selänne. Or in Finnish, Teemu Selänne. So retired now, but he's amazing. Yeah.
So you see I've discovered two more things we have in common. I'm an only child as well. And when I was young, I loved to go to hockey games. My dad had a season ticket and we would always go back in Germany to watch hockey together.
You know what? By the end of this conversation, we might find out that we're sisters.
Yes.
Aren't all women, in a way? We're all here supporting each other.
That is true. The big sisterhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the next question I have for you. So you were born in Toronto. Then you were born in Finland. Then went to Toronto.
Born in Toronto. To Finnish parents. My parents moved back to Finland, and because I maintained Canadian citizenship because I was born there, that's why I ended up at University of Toronto. Why I ended up back there.
Yeah. So somehow you always like to be in, let's say, more colder climates at the beginning of your life. So what made you decide to come down here to Miami, where like snow hasn't been seen in the last, I don't know, 100
forever
years?
Yeah, it's been a long time. So for me, leaving behind, there's this awesome saying that like entrepreneurs are actually really risk averse. Everyone says that entrepreneurs are big risk takers, right? But there's a reverse thinking also that they're actually very risk averse, because for them and for me, I like to be very calculated in everything that I do, and I plan it out and I research it, including my vacations. I'm one of those horrible people who schedules my vacation days, like what I'm doing on those days.
Oh, okay.
And, entrepreneurs, everything's on the line for you when you're an entrepreneur. And so like you have to make it work. And so the reason I say risk averse is because entrepreneurs go to great lengths to do everything they can in their logical mind to make a thing work. Like in my mind, like it will not fail because it cannot fail.
That's a very good lesson.
Yeah. So why did we go to Miami is, I was leaving this very stable, cool career. I mean, it's not horrible to be surrounded by hockey players or people in hockey. And, it wasn't fulfilling, it wasn't like mission driven. And while I was having a lot of fun and I had really great like executive mentors, like the men who were an executive level, I was learning a lot. It wasn't my true calling. And so my husband and I, who is my co-founder at Wyncode, being the risk averse people we are, and I guess the Finns we are, we did a ton of research on the importance of technology skills. And in particular, one big data point, which is why we chose Miami, it was which cities in the US had the most open technology jobs, but the lowest number of available technology talent. And we worked with a recruitment firm that did technology recruiting, and we asked them for the stats on the three cities we were looking at. We were looking at Los Angeles, California, Austin, Texas, and Miami. Mm-hmm. And Miami represented the biggest gap, right? There's the most jobs open and the least amount of talent to fill the jobs that were open, right? So we were like, this is great. Plus, we can be a first mover. We wanted to be a first mover to the market, so that state. And actually, ultimately, fast forward, we ended up becoming the first coding and digital design bootcamp licensed by a state department of education in the entire country, which is kind of cool.
That's more than cool. That's like
14. Yeah. Lots of bureaucracy there. So we wanted to, because we were leaving a good life, a stable life, good careers, it not only had to support the data for it to be a success, but it also had to be a place where we wanted to live and work. Right? We knew we were going to give up all our free time for a little while. So we wanted to do what a lot of people want to do. We wanted to live, work, and vacation and be where everyone else vacations, right? And I always say, like, it's amazing to be based in Miami because I get to live and work here and vacation here, and everyone just comes in for vacation. And I guess these days, everyone's coming to vacation, everyone's staying. A lot of people are staying. So welcome from New York, welcome from Europe, welcome from San Francisco. It's awesome to have the influx of people here to Miami. So
I agree.
That's why we chose Miami. It represented a huge opportunity, and it represented an amazing climate. Those were the two important factors. A lot of founders these days are looking at access to mentors and access to capital. And access to capital was certainly not good in Miami in 2013. In terms of growing a startup. It wasn't great. It's nothing like it is right now. And mentorship, actually, truthfully, Endeavor had just announced that they were going to open in Miami being the first US office for Endeavor. And that, in addition to what Knight Foundation was doing, and in addition to eMerge launching, that was kind of the trifecta actually for what gave us confidence that there was actually there was momentum starting in South Florida for a tech ecosystem.
Sounds great. When did you become an Endeavor entrepreneur?
So we were selected in 2015. We started the process in late 2014, and it was wonderful. I mean, it definitely, you guys, like, you put everyone through the grinder. It's like going through Shark Tank multiple times locally and internationally, but it's so worth it. It really helped us refine our pitch. So being selected to Endeavor paved the way for us to then actually raise funds, because that was the next thing that we did, is we raised money. All the biggest milestones and the biggest challenges we faced, we navigated with mentors who are on our advisory board from Endeavor. So, that's like cool. Ernest Bachrock, Adriana Cisneros, Melissa Medina, Steve McKean. Like, there's been so many incredible people, just to name a few.
and talking about challenges, which were your biggest challenges at the early days of Wyncode?
Yeah. So again, if there's a will, there's a way. There's no opportunity for failure. That's kind of like, you all are learning a lot about me personally as well, because that's kind of how I take most of it. I believe in just making it a success. And the biggest challenge we faced was just before we started our first class, the Department of Education in Florida told us we were illegal and we were going to face potential, like that it was a federal crime to run a vocational school for adults that was nonprofit without being licensed. And so before we even began, they were like, we were about to be shut down. And we genuinely and honestly didn't realize that, we read the statutes, we got some advice, and we were told that because of the nature of the type of education we're doing and the duration, that it wasn't required to be licensed. So basically we were told it's not possible, you can't do it, it's a year to get licensed. And at that point we had sold everything. It was our personal savings on the line. We had hired people onto the team already who had left their jobs to do this thing. And at that stage we were just like, if there's a will, there's a way. That was the biggest challenge we faced in the beginning, is just regulation or the unknown of you're doing something and you find out you can't necessarily do it. It all worked out. Again, like I said in the beginning, the spoiler alert was we became the first coding boot camp and digital design boot camp that was licensed. So it's all good, but it didn't come without, a few sleepless nights and a little bit of worrying. But again, that was an example, just to share a bit about South Florida and the Miami tech ecosystem. Some of those organizations I just mentioned, and Knight Foundation, Matt Hagman at the time, I mean, they rallied. We told them what was going on. They were excited that we had entered the ecosystem. We were excited to be here. And they, people we had just met, helped us navigate this very complicated legal problem. So it's like a testament to how supportive and collaborative the ecosystem is. And I think that continues to this day. And I think that's a really special element of Miami. That's pretty cool.
I can just add to this as well. I moved to Miami 6 years ago, and I started looking into the startup ecosystem maybe 2 years ago, right at the beginning of the pandemic. And so I started, asking my network about who could I meet, who could I talk to, and it was just amazing how many people I met. I had lunch with Claudia, who had never met me before, and she talked to me and introduced me to somebody else. So it's just amazing how supportive everybody is here.
Yeah.
Do you also, maybe shall we talk also a little bit about the mission of the Miami ecosystem to be more inclusive and to be different from what we have seen in ecosystems in Silicon Valley or in other places? Maybe you want to share something there as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing. Miami was founded by Julia Tuttle, a female. So has its historic and energetic roots in female energy, which is awesome. I think this is a unique ecosystem in that there are some pretty incredible female leaders here who are doing a lot to advance gender diversity and making it an inclusive ecosystem. Don't get me wrong, I think there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, but I go to events and I can feel it and I can see it, the intentionality. And that's really special because, you know, Felicia Hatcher, who is CEO of Black Ambition, once told me is like, you need to see yourself represented in a group to truly feel like that's somewhere where you could belong or want to belong. And it's cool because when I go out, I do see myself represented more and more, meaning I see more women involved. And that's really great. And I also want to shout out to Michelle Abbs, who's created Web3 Equity. She just, you know, her and her team, with the support of Mayor Francis Suarez, launched the Tuttle Tribe NFT drop, which
did you mint?
I minted too. I love them.
So cool. Again, something else in common again. Yeah, I minted as well.
Awesome. Yeah, so, you know, that's an example of the great thing that's happening and the great initiatives that are happening, and examples of great female leaders who are not only doing things but very inclusive, like, you know, open door policy, welcoming others to be involved. And I think that's really important. Miami is obviously, as we all know, a lot less established as a tech ecosystem than, you know, the Silicon Valley, New York, even Helsinki, Finland. And so that means that, you know, the canvas is not fully covered yet. And that means we have an opportunity to make it unique. And I think the way you make it unique is by making it diverse and inclusive. And it's not just so that we have the calling card to say, like, we have the most diverse and inclusive ecosystem. It's also massively beneficial because that will attract and retain very interesting talent. The best products in the world are built by diverse teams. And now that more and more teams are being based here, I surely hope that they're going to be diverse teams, because ultimately they're going to build great things. But I'm really excited about the prospects. On the flip side, I always want to preface this with, like, you know, I do see a lot of the minorities advocating for the minorities, if we're talking about like tech in particular here. So like women advocating for women, the Black community advocating for the Black community, like, you know, the Latin community and so forth. And I think if we really see a change as this momentum continues, it will be a unified effort to advocate for those groups instead of those groups advocating for themselves. And I say that out loud so we can all think about how we get there, because I don't know I know that we can get there, but we all need to come together to brainstorm how we get there and be intentional about it and talk about it.
I agree. I think for me, what I feel is very important that we, you know, that we find allies which are currently, or who are currently in power. So we need to find men, because at the moment it's mostly men who are in power and who are decision makers, and we need to find men who are willing to put females and other minorities at the forefront of their thinking. I just had lunch with two of my colleagues from Germany, two male white colleagues, and they were saying exactly this, that they are super prepared and willing to bring more diversity into our own ecosystem at globally in our company. And I think that's what is really important, that we find allies who work together with us, because as you said, if minorities just fight for minorities, that's not enough. That's a good start, but most probably not enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited about the prospects.
Yeah. So am I. Okay, another question for you. Again, different topic. So Wyncode was, you sold it to BrainStation a couple of years ago. Was it 2018 or 19?
1 year ago. 1 year ago. Yeah.
1 year. Okay. Yeah. All right.
So the pandemic has completely scrambled everyone's concept.
Yeah, you're right. For me, the last 2 years somehow didn't exist in my brain. Yeah. So you're 1 year ago, and you decided, as a co-founder, you decided to stay on board and take an executive position back into, let's say, a more corporate environment. So tell us about this transition from corporate to founder back to corporate. So would love to hear, how does it feel?
Awesome. I mean, you know, as an entrepreneur, you know, there are like the key things that were so important for me and like very exciting, which is one, creating the logo. I mean, let's be honest. In the beginning, you create the name and the logo, and that's super exciting. Then you get it off the ground and you get your like first dollars of revenue, and that's super, super exciting. And then for me, it was being profitable. And then it became like levels of revenue and profit, like hitting certain levels. And then it became raising money, which we raised money. And then in the end, it became exiting, so being acquired. And so it's been the whole spectrum, which has been really a whirlwind, right? Like I actually still need to sit down and digest. As I'm the type of entrepreneur who has trouble celebrating the wins and like having moments to reflect, because it's always about like what's, oh, I want to hit that next, what's the next milestone to hit? How do we get there? What do we need to do? And so I'm still in the process of reflecting. The acquisition was very exciting. We weren't looking to sell. The pandemic forced all of our programs. We're adult vocational technology training, and everything went online. And obviously it was a change from being an in-person educator, but we were like, this is happening. We can't do anything but make it awesome and make it a success. And it was awesome. We ended up having the best quarter in company history. Online was awesome. It was working super well. And then BrainStation, we were introduced. BrainStation was actually about to come to the Florida market and open, but then we got introduced through a mutual connection in business, and we like hit it off. And it essentially led quite quickly to an acquisition. And people have told me the best time to sell is when you don't need to sell, right? Mm-hmm. The best time to raise money is when when you're not like desperate to raise that money. Obviously, when you're first starting out, you need the money to keep going. So that's a bit different, but we did come from a very non-anxious position of making the acquisition happen. And so that felt good. The BrainStation is privately owned by 3 owners who have their traditional background is actually in computer engineering. And they have a completely different thesis of building like a world-renowned, leading, 100-year-old education company. So I like that I'm now in a company that's actually looking to build for legacy instead of looking to build for exit. It's just this new experience. So acquisition, it feels great. Obviously, it's sad to see your baby go. It's like our kid found their soulmate and we were at the wedding and we're crying because we're happy and sad at the same time. I wanted to stay on the executive team because we went from being a regional player to global overnight. And that meant I had a lot to learn. I'm surrounded by really intelligent people globally. We're growing the team in South Florida. I still really care about our legacy and the work we're doing in South Florida. And now we have more capital and more resources than ever before to be impactful here. But I wouldn't say it's a roller coaster. I would say it's a transition and a process. The emotions are different. The frustrations are different. The wins are different. It's just different. It's change. And so with any change, it's still processing, but overall it's been very good. And I'm really enjoying it. And I think I'm very happy that, Wyncode has become part of such a global company that has such a great reputation and is doing things at such a high level. So it's exciting. I miss my baby.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I'm also happy for my baby, and I know, it's still there.
Do you think that sometime down the line there will be another baby?
You never know. You never know, right? Never say never. I certainly have a history of doing things like that. But for the time, I'm happy where I am. I'm trying to not be the entrepreneur I've always been, which is what's the next thing? What's the next milestone? I'm trying, I'm going to be turning 40 next year. With age comes wisdom. So I'm trying to be present in the moment and enjoy and be happy with this moment. And maybe do a little reflecting. So that's great. And also have been taking time to mentor as well. I just signed on to be a judge for the startup competition at Emerge Americas. So I'm really looking forward to helping mentor and coach a startup team there.
Amazing. And what you just said, with age comes wisdom, because I know that we have only a few minutes left. I mean, I could talk to you for the next 2 hours, actually. So with age comes wisdom. If you had one thing everybody should take home after listening to the two of us talking, what would this one thing be?
Oh, there's so many things, but the easiest thing is the thing that's etched on our walls and has been since we launched, which is never stop learning. I think if, you can always do a little internal audit, what's the last new thing you learned, really learned? And if you can't come up with that answer easily, then, maybe it's time to learn something new. Make sure that you're not stagnant, because everything is moving at such a fast pace right now. And the best thing to do is to learn about things that you're passionate about. You know, it brings a lot of engagement, passion, information, education. And then, you know, of course I'm biased to this, but like I said in the beginning, I really believe, regardless of if you're going to be in a technical role or not, taking some time to understand how technology is built today, doing a workshop, a course, our program, whatever it may be, so important, because it's gonna make you a better founder. It's gonna make you a better team member. It's gonna make you a better manager, whatever it may be. It's just, you know, the world runs on technology. It's really the language of the world. So, you know, hugely beneficial to do that.
I love it. I learned so much from this conversation. And for me, what I learned from you is really like, failure is not an option. You know, you need to make it work.
Yeah.
And that's sorry, you go.
No. There's a huge positive to that side, which is there's a will, there's a way. But the downside is, like, you know, you work like crazy. Yeah. I don't know, maybe you shouldn't be working as crazy. Yeah.
But I know the next challenge I'm going to face, I'm going to think of you and I'm going to say, this is remember what she said, and then make it happen.
Yeah.
No, it was amazing talking to you. Really learning from you. You are an amazing person, amazing woman, and so it was talking to you during our Women's Months.
Yeah,
I'm
super proud to be here and a small part of celebrating all the women in this ecosystem. All my women founders out there, we got you. And all founders love you too. And I do want to say before we go, for anyone who is looking to learn technology skills, we're actually launching a never been done before pilot here with BrainStation based in Miami. We're going to run our May cohort. So our Miami May programs for web development and UX design will be tuition free. And the best way to apply is our regular application. It's just brainstation.io and apply under the Miami banner. And we're really, really excited to help adults, entrepreneurs completely transform their careers and their understanding of technology.
Amazing. And that's a great finishing to this conversation. Joe, thank you so much for talking to me, and all the best for you and your initiatives. Thank you.
Thanks so much.